Hello, happy bros. Hey, you're about to get a face full of the Kenn Bosak. He's a mentor. That's what I heard. He's a connector. Oh, yeah. He's a brilliant leader. I've seen it. He's Kenn Bosak. Oh, happy bro. You gotta get some Bitcoin and hold it. Happy bros. You gotta get those NFTs and you gotta hodl that stuff. You gotta hodl it. Some Kenn bro. We got your Bitcoin, bro. He's an original. Buy some NFTs and hold them. How many times does he have to tell you? Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. 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 Yeah, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Bro, we're going to the moon. Oh yeah, we're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. Real high. Yep. Real high. Hello, happy bros. Come get some Kenn Bosak.
And we're live, bros. How goes it?
Is that true? Are we really live?
Depending on when people are watching this, I guess. I don't know if we're alive, but we are currently live.
We're fake.
This could be like 1,000 years from the time we've recorded it, and somebody's like, they're not really live right now. Their great-grandkids are watching this. But
that's going to spur like...
Yeah, thanks for
tuning in. That's going to spur like questions.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for tuning in the present. Well, we are live, and if you are watching this 1,000 years post-production, thanks for tuning in. So I guess
we're not live then.
I'll give Miggy the floor. No need really for you to go on too long of an introduction, but let people know a little bit about you and what we're getting into today, and introduce your bro.
Cool. Well, super excited to be here. Always a big fan. For those who don't know, my name is Miguel. I go by Miggy Crypto. I've been a big fan of the Kenn Bosak and Nate duo. Fortunately for me, they are my friends. I've gotten to meet them in real life, going to conferences and doing some cool stuff. So most recently, I've gotten into NFTs this last year, and specifically into NFT gaming. So currently, I'm working with Michael Ramon here, who I've brought on from Something Sports Studios, and we're both going to be working together on a game that he's been creating, story, the lore, the whole concept, called Altera. So I'll go ahead and let him introduce himself and talk about his background a little bit. But we're here to talk about this new blockchain game that we're bringing into the space.
Awesome, man! Looking forward to hearing more about it.
Well, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for having us on. Okay. Man, it's definitely a pleasure, dude. We're excited, man. Like I said, my name is Michael Ramon. I've been working on this project probably for like the last 18 months, and it was about roughly probably like maybe 5 months ago that this actually turned into a real project. So a little bit of background about me. So my background's a little bit diverse as far as like, what I've gotten into. I went to school originally for computer science and programming, focusing on game programming, and, worked a lot with that and tried to do stuff in that arena with my friends. I never actually worked for a studio or anything like that, but I remember like in college, a few of us tried to get together just to start, making some games in-house while we were going to school. But like a lot of broke college students, that didn't work out very well. We could never
development, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody was starving, so we had to go work back at Pizza Hut, just to make ends meet. But this was during the time when like Xbox Marketplace first launched, and you could start working on developing stuff for their marketplace. And so, we were testing things out, trying to do as much as we could, and it was a lot of fun. But nothing really came of it, and we stopped doing that. And like a lot of college students, I ended up not doing anything with what I went to school for. So I went from computer programming to getting into finance. And so I've actually been in the financial industry, professionally since 2015. And that's actually how I got introduced to crypto, was because being on the traditional side of finance, that was one of the biggest questions that I would get from people, was like, hey, what do you think about Bitcoin? Hey, what do you think about this? And so I've been having those conversations, for the last 7-8 years. And I really enjoyed, just learning just from what I learned from different people as I came across them. And then it was I would say about 2 years ago, or a little over 2 years now, probably like 2.5 years, that I took a deep dive into crypto just to learn from my own, personal interests and investments and everything like that. And I really just fell in love with the technology, and I fell in love with. I started learning more about the NFT space when that kind of popped up, and then the GameFi space is what really, really interests me. And I think one of the things why it interests me so much is like, I've always been, always had this idea that at some point I would get to a point where I'd come back to gaming, and whether, I would open up a game studio or I'd work for a game studio or something. I knew that one day I was going to get back to the scene. And I remember in 2015, you remember that movie Ready Player One came out?
Of course, yeah.
Dude,
that's
I love
Gerard
that
Butler,
movie.
right? No, that's
it's
Gamer.
not
Gamer was the one I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah.
Gamer's with Gerard
Yeah.
Butler. Ready Player One was with that younger guy. Can't ever remember
The
his
guy
name.
from I can't
Yes.
remember.
Yeah.
Ready Player One's like the more or less
like,
intense version.
I'm in.
Yes. Yeah. And then when that movie came out, dude, and I saw, what they were doing, and just the in-game marketplaces, the social life, everything was just online. I was like, you know what? I bet one day games are going to start going towards that realm. And then lo and behold, the GameFi space started taking off in the metaverse space and everything like that. And you start seeing games start, using technology like that. And that's when I really started to really focus in on this blockchain technology. And, so I was just watching what was happening from behind the scenes. And I decided, you know what? If I'm going to design something in this space just for fun, what would it look like? And being, in business and being business minded, I always kind of look for, find a need, fill a need kind of thing. So I was looking at the current problems in this sector, and I was trying to, solve some of those issues to, if I was going to bring a project, it can't do the same thing that everybody else is doing. It's got to do a few things different. It's got to solve some issues that we're currently seeing. And one of the biggest issues that, we see in this sector is just the quality of games. I grew up, I'm a gamer to heart, that's my primary focus, and I was telling Mickey, I was like, man, I have like MMO accounts that are 22 years old, I called Square Enix like 6 months ago just to see if I still had accounts with them that I could get access to. And I remember talking to one of the accounts managers. I was like, man, I don't have, the CD key anymore. I don't have, the logins or any of the information. Dude, how do I get these accounts back? And he's like, honestly, there's not many things you can do. He's like, but let's just try this. He's like, I'm gonna ask you questions about your accounts, and you can let me know what's on there. And so I started answering all the questions, who the characters were, what the items I had, everything about those accounts. And he's like, dude, there's nobody else that would know this much stuff about this account. These are definitely yours. Here, I'll get you the login information for all this. So, I'm a big gamer. And with all that, I was like, you know what? Let's start working on building the game in this sector. And we want to focus on bringing quality games to this sector. There's a lot of cool concepts and stuff that's out right now. But when you think of like AAA gaming, there's not much that's coming to the sector right now. I think there's a few projects that have a lot of potential, and I'm really excited to see what they do. But a lot of stuff that's been put out so far, I don't think people would play it other than the fact that it's, you know, blockchain based games is the main reason why they're playing it. That makes sense, you know? So that was kind of one of the biggest issues that we saw, and that we really are focusing on making one of the core missions of our project is developing a high quality game. And so, you know, me and Miguel, we spent a lot of time since we kind of gotten into the space, just really just connecting with everybody in the scene. I think that's what we spent most of our time doing. Is just, I mean, we understand that we're the new kids on the block, but we've been making friends, and we've been making friends fast in this area. And so we've been showing everybody about our project and some of the things that, you know, we're all able to talk about. And so far, everybody really likes the idea of our concepts and of our project. And at the same time, you know, I'm not going to name drop or say things, but we're currently in the process right now of building partnerships. And we're actually looking at partnering with some AAA game studios to help build our game, because that's our focus, is bringing that high quality style game that you're used to playing in traditional gaming now, bringing that to the blockchain, just leveraging blockchain technology with it. And so that's kind of how Altera kind of came together and was born.
Interesting. I'm curious what a partnership looks like with like a blockchain-based game and a legacy AAA game. Regardless who that partnership may be with, what does that look like? What does a partnership mean for Altera when it comes to a AAA game? How would that have, like, you know, how do they relate? Relations.
It's been a very finite dance. You know, I have friends in the gaming industry, and one of the big things is that, like, traditional gaming, they don't really like blockchain gaming at all. And so that's honestly just been a dance, and we're kind of really lucky with some of the ones that we're talking to right now that we've gotten this far within the process. I like one of the VPs that we were talking to, this was yesterday. He's like, we vet all the projects that we talk to. And he's like, I'm just going to be real honest. He's like, we really don't talk to blockchain projects at all. And he's like, but the only reason you guys are here is because y'all were stellar in your first meeting that you had with one of our business developers. They really like you guys, and they like the concept that you guys are trying to do. And we know that, you know, that blockchain gaming is going to grow, and this technology is not going to go anywhere. He's like, but we just haven't seen anything that we wanted to partner with yet. And he's like, so we're really interested to keep having conversations with you guys specifically. And so, man, it just kind of, it gave us kind of a boost of confidence that, you know, that we are trying to do something a little bit different than everybody else. And, you know, and it was also made us feel good that they don't really take on a lot of blockchain games or anything like that. And they turn down most of the people that approach them. So has been a little bit of a dance trying to bridge that gap, because they are so different. And I think one of the reasons why we're focusing on that is because what we're trying to bring together to the table is, look, a lot of projects, you know, they're crypto projects who are trying to build games. You know, they're crypto people who are trying to build games. And the thing is that I think you need professionals on both sides. And so we want to bring the pros who are meant and eat and breathe, you know, build gaming, right? We want to work with those guys, and at the same time, we want to bring on the guys who eat and breathe, you know, blockchain and understand the blockchain. And our job is just to bring those guys to the table and say, hey, here's the problems that we're seeing right now. How do we figure the solutions to that?
Some of the biggest problems right now, not to cut you off, but I don't want to forget to mention this because it brings up a good point. Some of the biggest problems right now is and I'm curious how, like, maybe your mind's eye can see a vision to remedy this, but some of the two biggest problems I personally see in GameFi is scalping, where a lot of the assets aren't really going into the wallets of end users. They're going to the wallets of speculators who are going to sell it to somebody who really wants to get into the game. So we have like that flipping, scalping, you know, buying a bunch of tickets to a concert. The concert sold out and they have a guy on the corner and you really want to get in, so you're willing to pay whatever, right? So that, and also botting. A lot of these games have basically been designed where somebody could write a script, walk away from their computer, and they're basically yield farming with keystrokes from a bot the game. So I'm just curious, like, where do you see those problems? Do they grow or shrink over time?
And I mean, that's a really good question. You know, a couple of those things. I mean, that happens traditionally, regardless, and it's, you know, it's something that even the gaming industry is still struggling with, right? And they're still trying to tackle, you know, when it comes to the botting. And I think the reason why it's a little bit more important focusing on those with, you know, blockchain gaming is because you're dealing with real assets. It's not just a game, you know. So botting is kind of a big thing that can make or break, you know, that ecosystem. You know, without going into the great details, you know, we're taking into a lot of account, trying to focus on some of those aspects. You know, security is a big thing for us on our project. So we're talking with some people about that to focus on that, and we're trying to implement some things to deter, you know, whales within the gaming ecosystem itself. So we're trying to have some protocols in place that will help, you know, fight against that. But I think one of the other things is one thing that we're trying to do is we're not trying to forget, you know, the people who are speculative about crypto, you know, and this was just from the conversations that I had before we even got this project started. It's like, for the first time, you have like two different groups that are highly interested in one type of project. You have, you know, people who love gaming and blockchain games, and then you have people who could care less about playing games, but they're buying speculative assets, right? And so one of the things that we're focused on with our project is we're trying to create a unique and immersive experience for both of those groups. We're going to create a unique immersive experience for the gamers, for people who we want people just to play our game just because they want to play the game, right? And then the added fact is that, you know, it's play to own, it's play to earn, and those different factors. But at the same time, we're creating a specific unique experience for people who are looking to, you know, are crypto enthusiasts and wanting to invest in assets and different things like that. So we have a specific thing for them to focus on. So hopefully by mitigating some of those things, we can kind of help with that process a little bit, to where the biggest thing is that we don't want somebody coming in and buying up everything, and that way, you know, the person who really just wants to play our game can't even get in to play the game because somebody else has the money within. So we're really trying to fight against, on the gaming side, the whole, you know, and this is something I always had an issue with, is the pay to win model. You know, we're trying to limit that within the game itself so that it doesn't break the ecosystem within the game. Because one of our biggest focus with the game itself is the microeconomy within the game, because that's what's going to help stable out the game and make its playability long term, especially for, you know, the crypto side. Because one of the biggest issues that I saw with a lot of GameFi spaces is that, you know, in the very beginning, it's hot and you see this huge climb. Well, if you get in the beginning of a project, the beginning of the game, and then right after that, you see this big drop off, right? And to where, you know, a lot of projects, it's not as profitable to play them as it was in the beginning, right? And then you see this kind of tapering off.
Well, they need both, in my opinion. Just not to cut you off, but I think, you know, the macro economy affects your micro economy. So by allowing spectators, or speculators, rather, it's kind of interesting Freudian slip, by allowing speculators to kind of come in, you're allowing yourself to have enough runway to develop the game properly. This is dope.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, guys. I'm so sorry to distract, but like something said new. It said new on Zoom, and my ADHD kicked in, and I'm like, all right, what's new?
That's
like,
dope.
Holy crap, this is new.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's called immersive. It's called an immersive Zoom call. So I feel immersed.
Super meta.
That's pretty trippy. That's a form of meditation. You just put our planes of consciousness into one.
Yeah, this is
hilarious,
cool, guys. Sorry,
astral
so go back to what you were saying, bro.
All right. Aside from the fact that we're digitally astral projecting, I'll ignore that. What I was saying is that by allowing speculators to come in, you're giving yourself enough runway to prove yourself to the big game companies. But at the same time, you're making it harder to get like your daily active users involved in the game in terms of price point, like barrier of entry and whatnot.
Yeah.
So there's an interesting balance that you have to create as a creator, not only to prove yourself to the world, but also the crypto world. And then to yourself, like, what are your goals? What are your motivations? And how do you plan on getting in? And what's your purpose? So it's an interesting balance that I haven't seen a lot of people be super self-aware of when they're like developing stuff.
Absolutely. And you know, we're not, our goal is not to alienate one group or the other, you know, because we want and we need both. We're just trying to limit certain things so that one is not affecting the other in a negative way as much, if that makes sense. You know, so that's why we're trying to create those two unique experiences, so that you know, if you're just in this just to play the game and with the ability to own your assets, right? You have that option, and you know, there's only certain things we control, but we're trying to work with a couple of different projects and you know, getting some advice on things about how to structure that. So one, I mean, the price point is a big thing, especially for new players. But at the same time, you know, we're also trying to look at the speculative people who don't really care about playing games, but they're looking at this as, you know, as a long-term asset that they're wanting to hold and different things like that. And so we're trying to create those both experiences to where they can both participate in the way that they want to, without it actually directly affecting each other to an extent. And it's definitely a problem, and it's definitely a challenge. I don't think we're perfect, but I think we're on the right track with what we're trying to do to figure it out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because we want to make sure this space is sustainable, because like he's mentioned before, we've seen this happen to games where it was really dope getting involved in the beginning. A lot of people made a lot of money, and then everybody just kind of bails out because the money's not so great. And then it's like, we don't really want to play this game because we're not making money. And so the project just kind of flops. And then they're really like, you know, struggling to find ways to get back involved. Right. And that too. Exactly. And so with Michael's background, you know, in the actual gaming field and financial area, and then, you know, me coming in with my experience in this space, we're trying to really combine together to try to get the best of both worlds because of, again, sustainability. Like, this is a game we want people to be playing in 20 years. This is a game I want to be playing in 20 years. And, you know, and being able to use the blockchain to create a sustainable economic model, you know, is possible. You know, we've seen it and we know that it's there. It's just a lot of these projects, you know, are kind of putting the cart before the horse. So, you know, we're trying to take it step by step and really develop a great game that's fun to play, but also implement, you know, the whole blockchain aspect of it, which, you know, I got to hear Quigley talk in New York, and he had mentioned the reason why he created Wax was to be able to own these assets that are already being traded, bought and sold on the gray market. But now you have a better and more sustainable way by using blockchain technology to do that. So we're just trying to reinvigorate that same concept of, hey, this is already happening, but now we have a way to do it in a manner that is more productive for the entirety of the space, for the users, for the owners, for the game, for everybody. And now there's more accountability. There'll be less, you know, of a gray market, more of like an actual thing that happens and takes place. And I think, you know, those issues that Ken talked about earlier with the bots and the scam stuff can start to subside, you know, using blockchain tech in that sustainable way. So we're just trying to do that, make it fun, but give people an avenue so that way they can make money if they want to.
Well,
but
yeah,
the sole focus isn't going
pretty
to be
much
that.
prove that, you know, you don't have to pay your players. You know, if you make a good enough game, nobody cares if they're making money playing the game. On top of that, if the game's good enough, they don't care if it costs them money to play the game.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll buy the battle pass, they'll pay the online memberships, and they'll buy the in-game. So they'll pay 3 times over
Yep.
and not complain. So the game has to be good enough to the point where people don't care if they're earning, and if the main feature of your game is getting paid to play, then you better be fucking delivering dollars every time somebody's playing, right? So that's impossibly insane, unsustainable. But if you make it a good game and you just so happen to earn something while you're playing the game you already enjoy, that I think is the key ingredient, like balance that we're looking for when it comes to blockchain gaming. Is I could care less if I earn anything, but I just so happen to be earning something, and finding the balance of like over rewarding to where it starts to switch that paradigm where people don't care anymore to where they really care, right? So you have to find the sweet spot. You don't want to over reward players, and then you don't want to under deliver in the enjoyment of the game in itself. So I'm curious, like, have you seen sort of like where that footing may be in the balance of like what should like an average player be earning while playing a game for an average amount of time, and where the amount of reward may paradigm that shift into the mindset of it's only about making money after a certain point?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think our approach is a little bit different than, I guess, what you traditionally seen with games coming to this sector. Because one of our biggest focuses is we are trying to, with education and help kind of be a catalyst to open up this gaming sector to the gaming industry. And because we want to be able to capture more, traditional gamers and bring them over to crypto. One of the, I love to just take random polls and, I'll ask people questions and stuff like that. So I talk to different gamers that I know, and I'll say, I'm sneaky about it. I'm incognito. They don't know what I'm going to ask, but I was like, hey, obviously you love gaming. I was like, what do you think about blockchain gaming? And if they have nothing to do with crypto and they're on the gaming side, usually the first thing that I get is like, oh man, that stuff's a scam. It's dude, don't get into that thing. It's terrible. The games are garbage, which I mean, they're partially true. But they really don't like it. But what I've noticed is that the reason they don't like it is because they don't understand it. A lot of it's a lack of education, just like with everything in general. Most of the time we get a lot of our information from media and different things like that. We don't actually do our own due diligence or research. And so I start asking them questions like, yeah, I can understand that's a valid opinion. Let me ask you this, you've been playing games for a long time. You play, whether it's MMOs or different things like that. I was like, you playing on Call of Duty and I mean, great game, and you're buying stuff on the marketplace. I was like, dude, can you sell your skins back on the marketplace? Let's say that, you got an OG skin from way back in the day, and like everybody wishes they could have that one, and it's no longer there. I was like, can you just turn around and sell it? They're like, no. I was like, but you spent money on it, right? They're like, yeah. I was like, but wouldn't it be cool if somebody could buy it from you if you wanted to sell it? And they're like, yeah, that'd be pretty sick. I was like, oh, what about your other accounts? Like, man, you've put, for like gamers, there's accounts like, like I have, I account that's 20 plus years old, and it's hard to let those things go. But, if you wanted to turn around and sell that account to another player, I was like, can you do that right now? And they're like, well, no, I can't. And I was like, because you don't own it, right? Who owns it? The studios, right? They're licensing you to use their stuff, right?
It's basically so Blockbuster for gaming. You're renting it.
Exactly. Exactly. You're
We'd have to rewrite a lot of those
very high price. I was like,
they have non-reproduction, non-resale agreements that everybody signs.
Dude, he mentioned you mentioned something. You know what sucks, Nathan? I mean, some of those skins he talked about that are like old, rare, legendary skins that most people don't have. The solution game companies have found to not having a secondary market? They re-release that shit. So you think you got something that only a couple people have if they were early players, and then like next year or whatever, they re-release that shit, and you had to earn that shit by doing challenges, and you had to be early. You earned it by being an early adopter and supporter of the game, and now these people that just downloaded it yesterday, a year later, can just buy the skin for 99 cents.
Yeah.
That's their fucking solution. It's crazy.
And so it takes away from that. And and so the follow-up question I was asking, I was like, what if you could actually own those things? What if you could have that? And they're like, and everybody's answer the same. It's like, yeah, of course, if we could own it, we would love to own it. I was like, that's what blockchain technology allows for the gaming space to do, to where it's actually both beneficial to you as a gamer and also to the studio. Because right now it's not beneficial to the studio for them to let you have their end game
Right,
assets,
they can't get
right?
that commission fee that they're seeing on
Yeah.
like with Wax or whatever, right? In the secondary market there with Atomic Hub, you could get like 10% on secondary sales. But if people are doing it on like eBay and Amazon, selling their login info and stuff,
They get nothing.
You're not getting nothing. You're actually losing money as a game company.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so, so this technology just allows for a different avenue of gaming for stuff that gamers have always wanted. This technology is allowing for that. And so, our focus is that we're trying to first build a game first that people would play that leverages blockchain technology in it. And one of the benefits of leveraging blockchain technology is that ability not only to own your assets, but also to earn, whether it's a crypto token or different things like that. And, that's our focus. And then, like I said, with the other side that we're trying to, create that experience for the actual crypto investors to where they can own in-game assets and own certain aspects of the game that's a little bit more geared towards earning versus gameplay. So we're trying to be very strategic with meshing both of those. But the big thing, you said it, like, we're not trying to overpromise on the earning part. We just want there to be a fact that you can earn, it can be beneficial, and you own whatever you keep. So you're not just wasting your time, but it's a freaking good game that you want to play. Because I've seen projects, and I read a lot of white papers. I've literally seen projects say, we want all of our players to earn $100,000, playing our game. I'm just like, that's just not. That's not possible. That doesn't work, and you can't lead people on. I mean, even in gaming, like if you actually take away the crypto side, even in gaming, when you're playing games like MMOs that have that in-game currency and everything like that, you have rich people in the game and you have poor people in the game, right? And I've been on both spectrums, right? So that's just economics in general, right? You can't promise that. But what we are trying to do is create stability and sustainability for something that can last long term and that people can play long term and enjoy long term versus just get on the ride at the very beginning and it's a short ride and then you're off to the next project.
Have you seen the recent news, not so recent, with Steam pretty much saying like they're basically banning NFTs in games, which is one of the biggest gaming marketplaces, Steam. And then now, which is recent, the Minecraft announcement where they're saying that they're no longer, involved with NFTs with Minecraft. They're kind of putting it in their terms of service. Seeing such a pushback against NFT adoption from the mainstream side of things, where do you see Altera, kind of finding a home in the future? Do you think that Steam would be eventually into NFT, or do you think that we're going to have to start our own versions of Steam to facilitate blockchain games like Altera?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it could go that route to where, we do have to start something like that just to be able to get a place in the market share like that. Or it's going to be to where projects are really going to have to set up, especially projects right now. And this is kind of where I'm excited with where we're at within, the marketplace right now, and projects that are building right now. Projects have to have a different mentality with going forward with building in the GameFi space, because they have to build for the long term and they have to focus on building quality, not just putting something out that they can make a quick buck on. And I think by the industry see that we're actually serious about putting out quality projects and quality content that uses the best case for the technology and applying it with gaming. I think we can help change, the minds of what they see. Because I mean, you gotta view it from their standpoint. A lot of the stuff that they're seeing, right? A lot of their stuff that they're seeing is just, it's not great, and there's not a whole lot of good stuff on here right now. Now, I like I said, I think there's some good projects coming and some people doing some good work, and there's some good projects now. So I'm not saying that there's not, but they need to see more of that, and they need to see, more transparency and more projects that are willing to do the right things with their projects to build something that's geared towards gaming. And I think that might open the doors. But I mean, we're just going to have to see over the next couple of years which way it's going to go. But either way, this is not going anywhere. I think either way, this is going to grow, and it's either they're going to get on board and be a part of it, or this sector is going to innovate and just start something new because it's not going anywhere. If that
This is
makes
sort
sense.
of how I guess in relation to like an adoption phase when it comes to mainstream pushback and adoption and actual acceptance of would be streaming. Streaming was basically illegal, downloading piracy. I couldn't find the movie at my local, Blockbuster or whatever, so I went to Napster and I downloaded it, and then it kept going into a point where they were now more motivated to provide that service, which people found an outlet for, which was direct to, a la carte. I just want this one. I can now go to YouTube and for like $3 basically buy any movie. Why would I risk a felony for, downloading it if I could just easily click 2 buttons and I can get that adoption phase? They pushed on it so much that, Blockbuster no longer exists and Netflix has become the prominent, content creator platform for that because of it. So I'm waiting to see, if we'll have a moment where, a platform like Steam doesn't pull a Blockbuster and they actually go into the next phase, which is blockchain gaming now with NFTs in the games. Or are we going to see, another Netflixing where something else that doesn't exists because they're too slow to innovate and adopt? And history shows, over time and time again, Tower Records to iTunes, Blockbuster to Netflix, banks to Bitcoin, Steam to, it would be great. Name your gaming platform Scam, just to like really rub it in their face. We got Steam and you got Scam, and we're going to be playing on Scam because it's not a scam. Steam is, because if you do anything in one of those games that goes against their, like you're playing with your friends and you kind of guy talk, locker room talk, that could get your account shut down for life. And now everything you've invested into it, your time, your money, your love, it's stolen from you. So I'm waiting to see that point. And I think we're at that pinnacle time where within the next maybe 2 to 5 years, it's make or break for these gaming companies. The same way online gaming made or broke companies who didn't adopt online gaming, which led to multiplayer, which led to battle royale, which led to what is now esports. Like you can get a scholarship for college if you're good at
they have
video
college
games.
Courses,
right?
Yep.
So the next step to my vision, would be obviously you're not just getting a college scholarship for playing you're earning enough from playing the game to go to college.
Yeah, they'll give you a degree. They have courses for esports. Even these colleges have teams now.
Yep.
Out here in the Dallas area, we see a lot of that as well, and it's crazy. But it's like you said, these are the things that are already in place. And what Steam situations like Steam remind me of are like, you've seen it, how the governments were early on. Well, still kind of are, but how like the government was so against cryptocurrency, so against Bitcoin. All these things, all these entities were just like, no. But then now they're like, you know what? We didn't want to get involved earlier because we wanted the best opportunity for ourselves, our best entry points, our best, way to get involved.
They're gatekeepers on their own monopoly. Why would they want to share the the party? They get to decide who comes in and who doesn't and when. It's sort of to me like the iPhone features. iPhones come out every year with a new feature, and you're like, my Android's had that feature for 5 years, and they're like, we've been saving that feature so we had something to talk about when we came out with something new. And it's like, you could have just gave us all of this 5 years ago. Like, we would have been pretty grateful. And I feel like that's where Steam and all those other gamings that might be at is like, they could be doing a lot of this now, but they're gatekeeping the opportunity. And that's why they're not worried and motivated about releasing these features now, is because it's up to them when and how they let these features be released. And I don't know if indie games can have the opportunity to really like threaten the large monopolies that are like centralized gaming. But it's really up to the players, the people that play the games, to stop putting the money in. NBA 2K or whatever had like a huge loot crate scamming, and I think they even got in trouble for like casinos for kids kind of a vibe with the loot crates there, and people stopped paying into their crates, and they kind of suffocated the game marketplace. And I think that, as I mentioned earlier, the way they re-release skins, people that play games like this, when they see that, they're not encouraged to put more money in. They stop. So I think it's really up to the players to decide when these features start to come out from the mainstream. Because if you stop playing the mainstream game and go with the indie guys that are really building the future, they're gonna have no choice, because it's up to you, the player, not up to the indie developer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the end
I
of
think
the
that's
day,
what we're gonna
it's your
see.
market.
Yeah, we'll see more control
capture.
come by the users and the players, because I think little by little more people are going to figure out, like, that's one of the best things about blockchain technologies is now we're creating more options for ourselves, and we're really getting to pick and choose who we support and how we support them.
Well, with the
And
power
same
of
thing
a
with these
DAO,
games.
could you imagine? I don't know if this is in the roadmap for Altera, but a DAO for a game where the players are the governing body, where they can, put in proposals for features to be incorporated. Developers can see that they deliver, they get rewarded from the proposal payout, all from the gamers. I really see that being like a really powerful tool in the wheelhouse of GameFi. And I'm curious, as I just mentioned, Michael, do you see where DAOs could fit into what Altera is doing, or similar, like DAOs to blockchain gaming?
I think potentially it's not something that we have crossed just yet. It's something that's on our minds for sure, because it's a big part of, especially on the crypto side of what a lot of people like and wanting to see. I think it's very tricky in how to do it well, and also how to do it to where it still protects the integrity of the game. So I don't think it's an easy thing to figure out, and it's definitely gonna. I think as we see more things and see more innovation and see how projects go, I think there's some room for where it can evolve into that. But we haven't really figured that part out just yet, because we don't want to just throw something together just because everybody likes that specific thing and not do it well. That's our biggest thing, is whatever we do, we want to make sure that we do it to the best of our abilities and that it works and that it just doesn't break the game as a whole, if that makes sense. Because our goal is really it's long term. I mean, we're thinking we're creating a studio for the long term to build games in this space, because I think honestly, some of the studios that are coming up now, we're talking next 5-10 years could be the Activisions, could be the Blizzards for the blockchain community, right, and the blockchain technology, and that's what we're seeing. And so it's a learning curve, man. We got to see what happened the first 2 years of what happened with blockchain gaming, and so we're learning from all those mistakes,
and differently now than the rest of the world. You have to understand, I think that the rest of the world is what you call the casual consumer. And then what we have in blockchain is what we call like the active, engaged kind of participant type consumer. Like you're actually a part of it, like one with it more than just separate from it. So it's like, I think that going back to the big game companies wanting to be very selective of who they work with in blockchain, I think that's what it is. It's like, can you appeal to a casual consumer?
Yeah,
because today's consumer might not play the game for 2 months, but then they might start playing again for like a full month nonstop, and then they're out again for 6 months, and then they're back in 2 years. Like we don't really know.
Yeah,
we've been trained to kind of go here, there, check Twitter, check Instagram, Telegram, WhatsApp. Like our habits are that way too now.
Yeah,
I think that
I think that's a problem
ourselves. The more we can relate and thus be successful in business.
Yeah. And I think that's a problem in gaming in general, is the short attention span nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I was telling somebody the other day, I'd get on, the marketplace looking for new games that I can play. And like, I'm downloading 5 different games, and I jump on and I play it for like 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'm bored. And I go to the next one, and it's like we lost that immersion to games, right? I remember growing up, and I don't know if it's just because I was younger or whatever it is, but like I would get lost in a game for like hours and hours, right? And I remember staying up all night just playing the games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You don't really see that a whole lot nowadays, and you don't have that immersive experience just with one game. One game that I was, and this is just my personal opinion, one thing that I was excited about for a game that kind of shook things up and kind of changed things back to what original gaming was Elden Ring. They did things a little bit different than what everybody else is doing, and it was a huge success, in traditional gaming. So I think players are missing, especially this generation who didn't get to experience those types of games, back in the day. I think they're yearning for something new that's not really new. It's just what they used to have as far as gaming that creates that immersive experience, so people would play long term. Because I knew guys who were religious with playing games like every single day, for years, right? And you don't see that much
No,
with a
there's a
lot of
lot
games.
more like because of I guess like the mobile side of things with apps and stuff. It's more like TikTok, content, the TikTok games where like each level
Yeah,
is only like 15 seconds of gameplay, and it hits that dopamine really quick for people. They're playing like Flappy Bird, like
right,
Flappy
Oh God.
Bird was such
right.
a huge success, and it blew my mind because it was the least immersive game ever created. It felt like an ad that you would see on YouTube, and you just want to skip next to get to the real game. But people like loved that because of it fed that short attention span. I actually feel like it
Yeah,
would be a really good combination to have sort of like a mini game esque environment. Sort of like how a lot of like multiplayer battle royales have like short time battles instead of like full battle royales with 99 people and stuff. You can have
yeah,
shorter gameplays. Having something short to hit those, the newer generation that just wants quick game levels, like 30-second, 1 minute gameplay levels, and then people that want that hour, gameplay per level, that real immersion. Having a combination of the two to really suffice both generations, because I don't know if this generation now coming up with the content, the way they consume it. The reason we played games for hours is we didn't have Netflix to go binge watch our favorite show for 8 hours. We
yeah. We
binge
didn't have it.
played our favorite game for 8 hours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the real winning ingredient is combining those two formats of short and long gameplay for the older generation that grew up with storytelling in video games, and people that are
yeah,
growing up now with zero story in their games.
yeah. Yeah, and we're not going back to how things were. It's things have changed and it's always going to be changed. But I think you can bring certain aspects back into gaming that's missing. But at the same time, you're right. You gotta also play to the attention span of what's here now, what people currently enjoy. And we're trying our best to facilitate that. It's funny that you bring up mini games. One of the things that we're talking to the game studios about is because our project and what we're trying to build, especially bringing AAA quality, it's going to take time to build something like this. But in the meantime, one of the things that we're tossing up the ideas is to create a mini game prior to the launch of our actual game, so that people can start playing and have that short attention span. Because like I equate it to like, you remember playing like Fable or Fable 2?
No, I didn't play, but my brother did, so I know what you're talking about.
So like before, I think it was either Fable 2 or Fable 3, but before they were released, if you pre-ordered the game, you got a disc of mini games from Fable 2, the pub games. And whatever you did in the pub games would transfer over to the actual game once the game was released. And it was just simple, fun games. But I remember playing that all the time after I got off school and stuff like that. And it just reminded me that I was excited for, the game to come out. And so, we want to create something like that to where we can have something out a little bit sooner, to where people can kind of enjoy and play while they're waiting for the actual game to come out.
Yeah, the demo discs. I was
Yeah.
fairly poor
Yeah.
growing up, so the only PC games I really had growing up were the demo discs that were in cereal
Oh
boxes.
man.
Anybody
Oh my
remember
God.
PC games in their cereal box? Because I
Oh,
That's
do.
yeah.
hilarious. Oh my God.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jack Rabbit.
Right.
Jack Rabbit was my favorite cereal box demo game, and my mom would never buy me the game because she was too paranoid to put her credit card info into a computer. But I played that demo, which is like the first level of Jack Rabbit. I'd be surprised if anybody knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, I played it like 100 times a day. Like I knew the first level so well, and it's because it's the only one I had
Oh,
access to.
man.
But now as an adult,
That's
I've actually
hilarious.
played the full game a few years ago, actually. But I bought the game when I could. I was like, oh yeah, I have adult money now. I can buy the game. So yeah, I think like having that demo release really. I mean, it's still, you know, meaningful to me at least having that. So I think you're right. Definitely release like a demo. Actually, I want to give you time to, which I wanted to wait into more of the show. I didn't realize how long we've been talking, and I was going to ask this earlier. But I guess describe the game Altera to us. Let us know, you know, what players can expect and what you're looking to deliver.
So I can give you a little bit of details now. We'll be having more details come out soon. We should be launching our full website within, you know, the next, you know, few weeks is what our goals are. We're actually working on finishing up some talks with partners before we actually launch the full website. But as far as the game, you know, I love MMOs, and that's kind of what I grew up playing. And then, you know, I wanted to create a game that I would want to play as well. And so the game it's going to be an MMO RPG with some different types of functions in it that aren't traditional. And its setting is, you know, think of it like fantasy fiction, medieval, as, you know, think like Lord of the Rings as type setting as well. And the whole story revolves around what it's called the signal fires. And so the Altera is the continent for which the story takes place. And actually, this story is actually part of a bigger story that I've been working on and writing for the last 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So this is kind of like a prequel to that story. So, you know, I've been working on the design of the characters in this realm for a long time. And but the start of the story has to do with the signal fires, these ancient, signal beacons that are scattered throughout Altera. And Altera is kind of divided up, and, you know, a few different factions and all these different races. They don't really, you know, they're not fighting against each other, but they're not at peace either. So they kind of just keep to themselves. But there's kind of one constant, you know, theme that if something great that was ever to befall Altera, then the signal fires would be lit and everybody would have to come together to figure out, okay, we have to meet to see what's going on. And so it's been generations since the signal fires have been lit. And so now the signal fire has been lit, and the start of the story and where the players come in, it's your job to seek out the signal fires and to figure out, okay, what's going on, why has it been lit, and what's about to happen to Altera that's created this problem that everybody has to come together to solve. And so it's supposed to be just kind of an epic journey that takes people on just a wild ride throughout the continent Altera, just getting to explore, fight and conquer different areas. And one of the things that we're really trying to bring back in gaming is just the social aspect within gaming. To where people, we'll have the ability to where you can play on your own if you want to, but where you will get the most out of this game is where, you kind of band together with other people and to go take on different quests or different bosses or dungeons or whatever it is. We want people to be able to play together as far as, those clans or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
them guilds now.
Yeah. Well, we're trying not to, because I mean, you think about like guilds, there's you got the gaming guilds that are outside of the game. So we're trying to come up with a unique name that fits for the game itself, so it doesn't get confused with some other aspect of the game.
Oh, got you.
So we're working on that right now, because we actually have a guild system within the game that we're developing. I can't go into it now, but that's actually going to be one of the first things that we're going to be releasing and talking about when we launch our website. But anyways, that the whole aspect is we're trying to bring people together to where they'll play together. And that's what I miss about, I made the joke to somebody on a meeting the other day that, like, I mean, when I played games, that was my Facebook, right?
Yeah.
That was the time where I spent, spending time talking and chat. I remember I'd get in games and I would just sit there and chat with my friends and not even play the game for like a couple hours. And we're just sitting there just talking in the town or different things like that. That was our Facebook at that time. But we're trying to bring some of that social aspect back to the game as well. So that's kind of the small story of it. We have ideas for expansions in the story later on, because like I said, we're thinking of this as a long-term game, 10, 20 years down the road, and kind of expanding on the story. But right now we're focusing on one group of people within the story, and the premise is the race of men, and some of the characters are knights and everything like that, and that's kind of where we're starting the story, and then over time it's going to grow from there to the other parts as well, to include the other lands within Altera. But the whole goal is for Altera to be just an open world, kind of sandbox theme type structure, to where you can kind of just explore and do your own thing. My whole goal is that you can either follow the storyline and kind of get lost in the storyline and have fun that way, or you and your friends can go on your own adventures, not even touch the storyline, and have a great time exploring the worlds, doing whatever you want to do within the game. And the reason why we picked doing an MMO is because we think MMOs really fit well with blockchain technology, with being able, with the crafting. So you'll hear me talk a lot about microeconomies. One of the things that's hard with games today is that when you only have a couple items within a game, especially if it's crypto based, at a certain point you're going to get an oversupply of that specific item, which the demand starts to drop, and then what happens? The price starts to drop, right? So the reason why we're doing an MMO is because MMOs naturally have their own player and microeconomy that's sustainable, even if it's in a game, but that can be translated and used with blockchain technology to support it, so that if your weapons, your armor, your items, right, are all NFTs, and then you have an in-game currency that's a token, and then the players set the prices because they're buying and transacting between each other, and at the same time, you don't just have one item, you have 100 or 1,000 items, to where you're able, there's not one that gets oversupplied at any one time that's going to break the market and not make it, profitable to play long term, right? So let's say at the beginning, everybody starts making swords because every knight needs a sword, but at a certain point, there's going to be too many swords on the marketplace, and then so the price is going to drop. So what happens is that, well, instead of working on swords, now I can go make bows, or I can go make shields, or I can go make armor, where I can go focus on something that nobody else is focused on, and start making a profit there. And then what happens is everybody stops focusing on making swords, and their supply starts to dwindle. And over time, it might be 6 months or whatever, then the price will start going up for them because there's a lack of supply, right? And that's just that micro economy, we're just mirroring what we do in real life. So we're really trying to put a lot of effort into creating that stable economy to where it's stable and profitable long-term to play. And then we're doing some unique things. I can't really say exactly what it is, but it will be a part of the first things that we'll give information on when it talks about the guild that we're making. That will be some unique aspects that people who are a little bit more speculative on, not necessarily wanting to play the game, but looking to buy assets in the game. That's what the guild is going to be for. But one of the things that we're focusing is making sure that the economy is strong, and the guild and the game kind of go hand in hand with creating that microeconomy.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it.
I'm gonna tokenize a term for that. I'm gonna come up right now with a term for that, and this is what we're gonna end up calling it years from now. The in-game economy will be just LARPing economics.
LARPing. There you go.
LARPonomics.
Your live action role playing economics, essentially. Are you the banker? Are you a forger? Are you a reseller? Are you an end user, a consumer, a customer? Are you a marketer? Are you an advertiser? All those roles will be played in game. So like LARPing economics to me is the term I'll be calling in-game economies from now on.
One of the aspects of that is that, you think about like NPC characters and NPC vendors. The one thing that I can say now is that we're opening up those economics to people as far as like NPCs. So that's something that we're really working on, and that'll be a part of the guild. as well. But we're just trying to take a lot of care into how everything interacts, how the players interact with the NPCs, and how everybody kind of interacts together to make sure that the economy is stable as much as possible. But at the end of the day, the economy is going to be left into the hands of the gamers. The gamers, we're creating this world and this setting, and it's up to them how they want to play it and what they want their economy to look like within the game.
Yeah, I think a couple key things is that, we're trying to, make this as immersive as possible. So incorporating as many features to bring in something for everybody, basically. We're focusing on gameplay, having a fun game that's interactive, immersive story, something you can follow along and enjoy. But also we're working on using the blockchain to empower our users, our players, our investors in a way that hasn't been done before. And then, like we talked about with the mini games, also bringing in a factor that, we could touch in on people who just want to play little short-term things. And then combining all these, is what we ideally see as the future of blockchain games, that there's going to be a lot of games that are fun and immersive that you're just going to want to play and put money in, but you'll be able to own those assets. You'll be able to trade them, sell them. Maybe you'll be able to have a business in the game, and it'll be more engaging, more interactive, more immersive, just like us sitting in this panel
That would be
room.
really cool.
Like
Make the mini games more of like a sort of like how like mini games in real life, right? So like a real life mini game is sort of like volunteering. You volunteer, you could be a volunteer firefighter, which means you probably do it every other weekend. It's not your everyday thing. So you're not going to get paid for that. You're volunteering just to check it out and be a part of that. Or you volunteer as like, a street cleaner. You clean up the streets, but that's not your job. You're not getting paid for that. You're volunteering. Sort of keeping that demo-esque sample of the actual bigger game, more of that voluntary act where you're not playing to win something. You're just playing to play something. And if you really wanted to go more, you could get a career in that thing you were just, volunteering in. You could move on to the actual game and get more immersed in that. So I think having like that mentality when you're delivering those short demo mini games, don't give it a play to earn mechanic, because it's really volunteering into something much bigger than that really is, right? So I see it as like, meta voluntarism, playing those mini demo games in such a much larger metaverse.
Yeah.
If you had to play those to mine certain in-game resources, and then assets were backed by the resources.
Oh, that's dope. You get like a tax cut.
Like you had to get wood and gold and silver, and then you had to buy an NFT to use the wood, gold, silver to create things like fire, which would give you an output as well. That way people, by hodling them, would be affecting the supply and demand ratio, but you could still wrestle them out of the value and convince them to come and trade or play or try to make more somehow. So you're allowing the speculator to like really speculate and try to find, what they're going to do is try to find a loophole.
Yeah.
And try to find a way from mining and playing to beat you. So
right. That's inevitable. I mean, even in gaming, it's just,
but by having two mechanisms, two games, you can have one feed the other. And then, basically like you have to play the one to release assets to play the other. And then speculators can come buy those other assets once they're released onto the market. So you're allowing your active users to profit off of the speculators instead of the opposite.
Yeah. I think people are really going to like the system that we're setting up, because it has some unique aspects like that, that hasn't been done, that I've seen hasn't been done yet. Because what we're trying to create is not a one side or the other side. What we're trying to create is these two different groups that essentially they need each other and they work together for everything to work, if that makes sense. So it's just that cohesion between the both of them, and it's beneficial for everybody. It's beneficial for the speculative investor, and it's beneficial for the players. So we're trying to create that commonality, and negate some of the negative effects. Or you're not going to get away from everything. And like you said, people are going to find loopholes to everything. That's just the nature of this sector, and that's the nature of gaming in general. It's always a continually evolving mechanism, and learning curve with all of this. So hopefully we've learned enough from what we've seen so far, and that we will continue to learn as things progress, and be able to kind of keep up with the changes as they come as best as we can do that.
Right.
Yeah,
I
and we're trying to be as inclusive as possible and make it, our end goal is to have it be multi-chain, in the end, so everybody can find room.
Yeah. What's funny is that we were talking with a group, like I said, I won't name drop or anything like that, but we were having a meeting and we were talking about multi-chain. We've talked about multi-chain quite a bit, and it's not that people are definitely on one side or the other when it comes to multi-chain. And what we see right now is the kind of the tribalism within the blockchain itself. Everybody just loves where they're at and different things. They want everything just to kind of stay on their network, and it was just kind of the same thing that we saw with the platform wars with gaming.
Yes, dude, I was just going to mention that. I don't want to play PC gamers when I'm on my console. I'm big on interoperability. I fucking love interoperability. And as soon as I got interoperability in legacy gaming, where I think it was Fortnite that I think kicked it off, really, where you could be on Xbox or PlayStation and you can play in the same lobbies, and then they added PC to that lobby. I'm against it in that sense, because PC has such an advantage with having their whole wrist to aim at me, and I just get my little thumbstick. Yeah, man. So when I'm I play Apex Legends, so when I'm playing in a competitive ranked mode, I'm in competitive lobbies, and I'm on a PlayStation 5, which I had to buy because I kept getting shit on by everybody who had a PlayStation when I was using Xbox, because Xbox sucked compared to PlayStation. I knew this by playing people that were using a PlayStation while I was on my Xbox. And I'm like, yeah, you have a better console. Let me get the better console. Now I'm better than you. Told you. And then I get into a lobby with a PC gamer, and they just shit on everybody. So it's sometimes interoperability can give a dissatisfactory result to those on certain paradigms of it, but I think the opportunity really is there in opting in or out, opting into interoperability or opting out of interoperability, where I'm not forced to go from Ethereum to EOS or from EOS to Binance in order to play one video game. But if I wanted to do it, I could, but I shouldn't have to engage with interoperability. It should always be optional.
Yeah, and exactly. I like that. It should be your choice whether you want to or not, but it should be an option, to where you could, and because everybody likes a platform that they're on, whether you like to play on Wax or you like to play
and it keeps it balanced, right? I mean, the times, if it's truly on in-game on blockchain asset, using a blockchain like Ethereum compared to a blockchain like Wax, the transaction speeds would just be not fair. I'd be able to move much faster on Wax, and you'd be still waiting probably an hour later for something to transact on Ethereum, where it wouldn't be balanced gameplay because of the interoperability. That's kind of where I was relating PC to console.
Yeah, I mean, there's different factors that we would have to figure out. I mean, that's not our primary focus right now, but that is
shouldn't be. Yeah, that's probably you mentioned 20 years from now.
Yeah, it's a goal coming up that's where we want to kind of go to, just to be able to I mean, so wherever you're at, you can still play our game, because it's about the game, not necessarily the system that you're on. And we would like to leverage and try to use the different chains for their different strengths, and work it in that way. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work to figure out, and that's the main reason why we're trying to bring together two groups of experts to figure this out. Hey, you're the blockchain expert guys. You're the game developer expert guys.
I think you're missing one expert group. Finance. I feel like a lot of blockchain games, they have the legacy gaming, they have the blockchain developer technology, but somewhere in the middle should be a financial expert to make sure the economy and economics are.
That's where Michael comes in.
All right, there you go. You kept mentioning two, and I'm like, that third one is.
Well, he's the third. I'm the middleman that bridges everybody together.
Very important is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I mean that may or may not be by design, but no.
Exactly. You can't survive without me, motherfuckers.
I don't want them to take the idea and hey, no, we're just cutting you out. We're gonna no, you need me, right?
Need the numbers guy, exactly. Need the numbers guy. I guess we kind of wrap things up though, because I just realized how long we've gone. I don't know how much time you both have. Nathan's always in meetings, so I'm sure he's got one coming.
I do get medicine.
See what I mean?
2 hours.
So I do want to kind of get on this last topic of regulations and sort of kind of go back to what we've seen in the past 10 years or so of crypto and where we're at right now with NFTs. Regulation has really stifled innovation from Bitcoin to NFTs. We've even seen OpenSea not working with people that are using IP addresses from certain countries, and VPNs also working with OpenSea in a way to block those addresses from ever communicating with that platform. The regulations coming from like America and Russia and China around blockchain, I do start to worry about the longevity potential of blockchain gaming when regulation does start to come your way. Have you thought about like what, because it doesn't exist, this is purely speculative, but it will eventually exist because we have seen it over and over again in blockchain in general. What do you think regulations look like, and how could that really make or break games like what you're trying to build today without regulations?
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's a hard question. That's actually a question that I asked our law firm that we're working with, because things are, especially, I mean, even on the financial side, things are always changing, and what's allowed right now might not be allowed next year, and different things like that. And it's hard to, I mean, honestly, it's hard to build with that, mentality, because you don't know, right? So, all we can do right now is just take the one step that's ahead of us right now and start building as best we can for the future, and and then have the ability to pivot when things do happen. I think that's a strong aspect for a lot of companies, is if they have the ability just to pivot when things happen and kind of make those adjustments and those changes. I mean, you can't control what you can't control. You can try to the best, to accommodate or make those changes when they happen. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen in the future as far as like some of those regulations, but I do know that if we focus as a whole, focus on educating and focus on mass adoption and bringing that education to the masses to help them understand exactly, because most people just don't understand what blockchain is. That's the fact. Right. They don't understand it. And it's because nobody's really taken the time to actually educate and spend time teaching people.
Ledger. Yeah, but that's the funny thing. People don't even know what a ledger is because they don't understand money.
I know.
People work with the US dollar. The whole world works with it, and 99% have no clue how it even works on the back end.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. People need to start at square one and just understand what is value. Like that. You started there. Like that's kind of where you started with me, Ken. You sent me a video on value, and I was like, "Oh, this shit blew my mind."
Something me and Mickey have talked about, going to so many damn conferences. Me and Mickey have found ourselves talking to different people about the topic I'm going to bring up, which is something I think should be in the hindsight for Altera, is KYC. Sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's great. And I think for blockchain gaming, it is great. It will help a lot of people from getting themselves into a position that may be a problem where they're at locally, because laws and things are very geographic and games cross those borders. But I've said this since Splinterlands was Steam Monsters in like 2017. We can't have 7-year-olds making 6 figures. That's dangerous. Right. It's not just, it's very dangerous. It's for their own personal health. It could be detrimental when you look at celebrity, actors who are young, what happens when they come into a lot of money. It can affect them for the rest of their lives. And I think when it comes to blockchain gaming, protecting the youth from either being, scammed after they've reached that 6-figure mark, or even hitting that mark at such a young age, could really ruin their lives. So I'm wondering, have you thought about KYC for gaming because of the ability for a 5-year-old to make more money than their parents?
Yeah. Now, I mean, here's the one thing, I applaud young entrepreneurs, man. Different people, and I've seen, I've known different young people who become successful just because they implemented the ideas. Now they might have had help from their parents or different things like that. And there's only so much oversight you can do and you can get into. But I do agree that KYC is extremely important. one of the things, this is actually one of the partners that we're looking at bringing on, and we're talking with. We're very intentional about the security of Altera and our platform. So having KYTs and KYCs is something that's kind of important to us, and being able to kind of track a lot of that stuff. And so it's just more so for the security side, because we don't want it, you can't prevent everything from happening, but you can try to plan ahead for
Right, that's what I'm
certain
getting exactly. For planning
Right.
ahead, I think that's a good
Yeah.
kind of mitigation
And-
to any enforcement regulation could provide. Is like, oh, we've
Yeah.
already done this, and this because we saw how you regulated, Poloniex or Binance, Coinbase, or whatever these platforms are that had to go through regulatory moments, kind of getting ahead of the game when it comes to blockchain gaming being regulated.
Yeah.
Outside of the whole KYC thing, I think would be really good to see more of a like a W-2 or some kind of like income form that you'd fill out, because eventually I think the laws will catch up to people who are earning in these games the same way that they catch up to lemonade stands. I mean, you could just Google lemonade stand cops and you'll see cops at kids' lemonade stands because some neighbor saw them doing it very successfully and was worried
Yeah.
for their young kid not paying taxes. So now the cops are involved, right? So I think providing a W-2 or some kind of a form for these gamers to fill out, to kind of, not even for the platform, the game maker, but for the player's own good.
Yeah. Kind of like a 1099 almost.
Something like
Yeah.
that. It may not even exist yet. It may need to be like a whole form written, goes through, the right political like pipelines. It may not even exist because this hasn't existed before. But I do think that there is something in that conversation of like tax formation or income form or employment, where you can now like think, all right, this isn't a problem now. It may never be a problem, but if it ever is, we solved it before it even comes up.
Yeah. And I think that's one big thing why we're looking at the transactions and being able to have that open to where you can see it and then understand what's going on within the game. So, if we need to pull stuff like that, we can,
I really honestly see a future where kids, not kids even, but like, you're 18 years old and you're going to walk into H&R Block to do your taxes, and you're going to provide them your in-game username for a couple different games, because that's basically giving them your employee ID number at whatever business you work at.
Yeah. I think we'll see where that goes over the next few years, especially as governments figure out how, what part they're going to play as far as regulations and how those regulations are going to change over the next couple of years. I think where that can get tricky, is when you cross borders and go into different places. As far as taxes, you don't know where all your player base is coming from, and trying to do that in every single area. That's
well, that's why I say it's not really to protect you at all. It's up to the player to say, I'm actually in this country, I'm actually in this state, and this is what those parameters say I should do when I'm earning income. So it's really, this is nothing to do with the game platform, but really so much for the players, because people lie to Pornhub all the time. It's like, are you really 18? And they're like, yeah, I'm 18, and they're like 12 years old watching Pornhub, and Pornhub's never going to get in trouble because they put that pop-up there.
Yeah. And but being able to get the information that you need to use it for how you need to use it, I think that's important. So that is something to think about, and to, like you said, kind of to plan ahead, because we don't know what it's going to be like. But as much as we can, and as much as we're trying to, is to plan for the future, not just what's going on now, but hopefully kind of have a little foresight in it. We won't see everything, but we're trying to plan as much as ahead and just be prepared, and that having that ability just to be able to pivot when we need to pivot. So
and we're pretty plugged in, to each important sector of all this. We're deep in the blockchain community. We also have connections in the financial area, and then plus we're working with blockchain lawyers and security companies and stuff. So we're at least putting ourselves in a position that we're playing by the corporate game rules, but we're also incorporating the Web3 space. So that way, when things do come up, we can adjust and be able to stay relevant with what's going on, instead of like, oh, hey, we have to shut down for a while and figure this out. Like we understand that we'll have to play by the rules, at some point, but those rules are going to change.
Just be forward facing. That's the best you can do, because that's defensible against things that come down the pipe. As long as you've made or taken actions to prove that you're doing your diligence and being cognizant of future regulations and current regulations, they'll have no choice but to let you off the hook for minor things. I mean, they can't take everyone to court for everything.
One of the biggest things is, what we're trying to show is just transparency. We're trying to be as transparent as possible as a company and with what we're doing, and have as much stuff public as possible, because that's important to me. As an investor, what I got frustrated with a lot of projects is like, you just don't know anything about the project other than what they're telling you on the surface level. And to me, that throws up red flags. And I think more projects need to be transparent, and that'll help keep from a lot of these scams from happening and stuff like that. So our one of our priorities is being a transparent company with this project, with this game. And but yeah, so we're trying to do as much as we can, as effective as we can, and try to plan ahead. We're not perfect, and we're not claiming that we know everything or we got it all figured out. There's a lot of stuff that we still have to figure out, but I think that we're on the right track, and we have a lot of players in our corner that are watching us and supporting us and excited to see kind of where we go. And so, yeah, we're just right now, honestly, we're just excited. We're ready to kind of get things going. We're ready. We're itching to be able to release our website and get some of our first information up, and start talking about the project a little bit more openly. And we're excited to be able to finally kind of nail down some of our partnerships, and especially with the game studios, and kind of get that up and going as well.
It's sort of like the Jordan Peele method. I don't know if you follow him as a director, but for Nope, he gave us like no information about his biggest movie of the year. I still don't know anything about this movie. Nope.
But it looks awesome.
Right. I know nothing because all he had was what a website with just Nope, and that was it. Like, we didn't even get a trailer really. We got like teasers. So I love that, you have that. And if you want to join the email list, go to Altera. That's ALTAIRA.io. And you can join the email list. I know that the website's bare bones, and if there was a roadmap, if you wanted to lay it out for people real quick, just a little bit of the roadmap for the rest of this year, if you have it. If not, we'll tell them to join that email list and wait for the website update.
Yeah, so we will have the roadmap up in a couple of weeks once we release the website. So that will be up when the website's released. We have to nail down a couple things right now, just so we don't have to rearrange things or change things, but it will be up in the next few weeks when we launch the site, and you'll be able to get all that information. We'll be sending out an email prior to the website launching, and give some initial information, and then we'll have the newsletter going just for monthly updates and stuff like that. But we'll have a good amount of information within our website, and then our white paper when we post that at the same time. I know it's not a whole lot of information right now, but I promise you it's coming. So
call the white paper a live white paper. That way people can expect changes to occur, or call the roadmap a moving roadmap, because things will be moving. It's so a lot of projects, when they release a white paper or release a roadmap, they do always have to edit and pivot and change things. And people seem to get like up in arms about that, but it should be expected. So I think throwing those little words like a live white paper or moving roadmap will help mitigate the kickback when it eventually does have to happen, because this is we're in such a speculative environment where things change every day. I think projects kind of paint themselves into a corner sometimes with those roadmaps and white papers.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that, and we're trying to be careful with what we say and what we promise up front, because here's the thing is we're developing something big, and it's going to take time to build this, and our main goal is to do it right. We're not trying to sacrifice quality just to get something out. And so we want to bring what we're promising to bring, we want to deliver on. And so people are just gonna have to understand that we're gonna have to be fluid with a little few things, but we're gonna try to stick as closely to, that roadmap as possible. But things might change a little bit here and there, but anything that we do it with the best intentions for the game and the project itself, because that's going to benefit the players and the investors the most, right? So that's our first stop. We're not going anywhere. We're here for the long haul, and we want to put out something that everybody's been waiting to see in this sector.
Absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Michael. Miggy, I love you as always. Can't wait to see you in person. I expect hugs. Nathan, when are you coming to Miami?
I can leave tomorrow morning if you want.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go.
No, I was going to tell you after the show. I was on the phone this morning at 7 a.m. with a mutual friend of ours, and they've offered to pay for my trip. So, all I have to do is
Miami party.
Yeah, all I have to do is do a little talky thing for them, and
Miami, palm trees.
Miami.
Let's go.
So I can figure out,
we're going to the
day.
nude beach this weekend.
Okay.
Nice. That's hilarious.
All right, guys.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, guys. I can't
Yeah.
wait to see the update on the website. I'm looking forward, I guess, to a demo thing. You know what I mean? I don't know if you have one that's coming or anything, but for me, I love those little video teaser trailers of gameplay type thing. That's sort of my gamer porn. I don't know why, but I love those teaser videos. They're just on a loop. So hopefully,
Make a playable roadmap. It's like Pac-Man.
Playable roadmap. Holy shit, dude!
I don't know.
That's actually
good.
clever.
That's a mini game.
You're not getting paid for that idea, bro. That was
Somebody
clever.
Hey, what the fuck? I should have attached that to an NDA.
Bro, TM. Oh my God.
Yeah,
We're stealing that.
Mickey already trademarked it. Yeah, he beat me to it.
But if we take that idea,
universe.
we'll credit, this was an idea by Nate.
No, credit the podcast. Fuck
Thanks
that guy.
for
There you
the
go. I'll credit the podcast, not another Bitcoin podcast. This is where it came from.
It was inspired by love. That's all I
That'll be the mini game.
All right,
The
bros,
first one.
go and check out Altera.io. Join the email list. Stay up to date and let me know what you guys think as things roll out. I'm sure we'll have Michael back on to talk as things progress. Appreciate everybody's time. Have a day.
Thanks so much.
Diamond
guys. Thank you,
hands.
guys.
And it's Play Altera on Twitter.
Oh, it is. Play Altera on Twitter.
We're going to go to the new beach.
I didn't see anything on the website for Discord, Telegram, or Twitter or anything yet, so I didn't know if you just wanted me to focus just on the website.
Twitter's fine. I mean, people can go to our Twitter. We have our Twitter and our Discord up. So the Discord link is in the Twitter.
Okay. Cool.
So go to the email, the website to sign up for the email list, and then follow us on Twitter, and then join the link on Discord.
So Play Altera on Twitter, bros. Thanks again, and have a
Thanks
day.
so much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hello, happy bros. Hey, you're about to get a face full of the Kenn Bosak. He's a mentor. That's what I heard. He's a connector. Oh, yeah. He's a brilliant leader. I've seen it. He's Kenn Bosak. Oh, happy bro. You gotta get some Bitcoin and hold it. Happy bros. You gotta get those NFTs and you gotta hodl that stuff. You gotta hodl it. 'Cause I'm Kenn bro. We got your Bitcoin, bro. He's an original. Buy some NFTs and hold them. How many times does he have to tell you? Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Going to the moon. We're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. 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 Yeah, we're going to the moon. We're going to the moon. Bro, we're going to the moon. Oh yeah, we're going to the moon. We're gonna get real high. Real high. Real high. Hello, happy bros. Come get some Kenn Bosak.